All right. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Thursday Night Hang. I'm Jay, your host, and we're here on the Ono Live channel every Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern time here for the Coffee and Cigars live stream. So what's going on? How's it going? Hope you're all doing well. It's been a good week here. It's back in the garage where it's chilly, chilly, chilly. And yeah, chilly, chilly, chilly. It's interesting thing. We had a nice week this past week. And Rusty wants to know, is it a mum cigar? It is a mum cigar. It is a mum. We're kind of on a mum kick right now. Actually, I was thinking, I haven't actually calculated, but if I was to use every mum cigar for this show, it would probably last us through June or later. We probably won't do that. We'll do a lot of it. We'll do a lot of it. So, how's it going? Hope it's going well. Rusty, how was your day? Oh, day off today, right? Day off. Day off. I was after our live stream this morning. I went out for a bit to go look at some wood. Found some wood. Actually, went to this was looking for a lumber guy. Well, there's a guy that I found online, and he's like, yeah. I'm in Cockeysville, and I was like, what? You're in Cockeysville? It's like, all right, let's go check it out. So he's actually not too far. It's like a couple miles away from me. Mom's here. What's going on, Mom? How are you? And George is with us. George, man, where are you tonight? I know you're probably outside again, bundled up well. And what are you guys all smoking tonight? Let me know what you're smoking and what you're drinking and how it's going. We got some coffee here today. A real simple kind of coffee today. Where is it? Oh yeah, here it is. Just this simple Perla Negra. I brewing it the other day, but I thought let's brew some, and we're gonna do it in the Avid Clever because the Clever is just kind of fun and easy to do. And oh, I have forgotten my cup. We'll get my cup first. I forgot the cup. All right, here we go. Here we go. Can't be without the cup, right? Please tell me it's not. No. This is the Perla Negra. This is not the hotel coffee we had this morning. That was not. I mean, there's nothing pleasant there. Like, if for those of you who didn't see this morning's live stream, we had this coffee that I got from some hotel, probably in Africa or somewhere in the world, and it was definitely some of the very worst coffee I've ever had in my life. It was really, really like distinctly horrific, right? So here's our coffee. Right, got that in here. This is a anaerobic process coffee made for me by the Mirish family and in Nicaragua. Also, so Nicaraguan cigars, Nicaraguan coffee. We're all Nicaragua all the way around here. And let us get our okay. So that's ready to go in the Clever. We're gonna put that aside and get our water ready to go here. Hopefully, I don't spill it like that one time. Last week I pre-boiled it, and that was pretty efficient. I kind of liked that. I was thinking about doing that again, but all right, there we go. Put that aside. So, like I was saying, George is saying outside with a Placencia 149 and a dry martini with blue cheese on it. Oh, nice. Yeah, I don't know how it is. I feel like it's cold. It's one of those things where it was cold and then like it wasn't so cold and then it seemed cold again today. But like I said, I went out to I found this guy. Oh, Craig says hi. I see you find wings in the grounds container, useless as. Oh, the wings. Yeah. See there, now you have a grinder. It's like, yeah, I don't get it. Like I get why they're doing it. So in the container that has from Fellow, they have these wings, right? These wings are supposed to help guide the coffee into your device, right? But the problem is, even though you're trying to do this, the coffee gets stuck behind the wings. So as you lift it up and do something, you're not thinking about it, or you don't know what to expect. You do something else, and it just flicks out and gets like, what in the world is going on here? It's a good idea. It's a nice. They're trying. They're trying, but the practical application is not so great. Maybe it might be better if it was a more severe angle, right? Instead of this shallow kind of angle here, maybe it was heavier. That might be better because then it wouldn't get stuck, I think. But maybe for their Gen 3, who knows? Devin's with us. What's going on, Devin? Good. How are things down in Florida? Rusty says, after cleaning off the cars, I had a brief respite with it. Arturo Fuente Cuba. Oh, so you had that? You actually had snow, or did you just have ice? We only had a little bit of ice sheeting on the vehicles. It wasn't too bad. It wasn't too bad. Rusty's asking, does the rubber gasket on the canister sit right on yours? On the canister of this or of this? Which canister do you mean? George says, what's up, George Reitman? How are you? Good evening, all. On my balcony with an LFD Airbender Robusta and some green tea with honey. It's been a while since you joined us from the balcony at home. Now that the football season is kind of almost over. Oh yeah, ice storm. Okay. The grinder cup. No, there is no gasket here, right? It's just this thin piece of steel, and then this kind of silicone rubber-ish, and there's a little lip, but there's no real seal. Like it's not really sealing. I guess there's no real need to because there's a huge hole here, so there's no real benefit other than like to hold it in place. But then I don't really think that. I mean, if you're not being careful with it, you know, it, this falling off is not a big deal because there's such a big hole that it would fly out of the hole anyway, right? You know what I'm saying? I don't really. Oh, Rusty says I hate that. See, I don't have an. I guess maybe it's a little bit loose, but I don't have an opinion on the lid. I mean, for me, it's all about this, and so I'm just using it like this now. I just turn it over. I'm like, why bother with it? Okay, so we got our boiling water. Now I'm gonna do this. We got our boiling water. Turn off the boilie. Turn off the boilie. And now we're just gonna add the water. And add our water. Okay, we add some water to that. 7:49 on our timer. One of my friends has messaged me from Florida. He's coming up to the DC area for a wedding. When we're at the SCA that same weekend, and he's like, yeah, I want to stay in DC. What's a good place? But we have to go to the wedding in this town, Mount something. And I was like, I looked it up. I was like, that's like 2.5 hours away, dude. I don't know if do you want to stay? I don't think you want to drive back that far. That's not fun. And he looked it up. He's, oh yeah, you're right. I don't know. So I said, hey, you should, if you're going to be out that way, you should go to stay and have dinner at that place called the Inn at Little Washington. The one with is it George McConnell? Is the chef? Is that right, Rusty? So if you're not familiar with the Inn at Little Washington, the Inn at Little Washington is this little place kind of close to Fort Royal, where I was last weekend, and it's supposed to be one of the better regarded restaurants in America. I have not been there. So you can stay there at the inn and you can have dinner all at the same stay. It's supposed to be really, really wonderful. Of course, this is like, oh, Patrick McConnell, thank you. It's like French Laundry level, but with a place to stay. So it won't be inexpensive, but it should be wonderful. Wonderful, I imagine. So I told him, I said, it won't be inexpensive. Then he looked, I'm sure he looked it up and he was like, oh yeah. He's like, but it will be good. I was like, yes, it will. Yes, it will. George says no rooms for walk-ins at the inn. Well, I mean, they're planning it. They're 2 months out, so they could maybe get a plan for it. I have no idea. I don't know how busy they are. I tend to just call restaurants. and just kind of like my strategy has always been to call the restaurant and be like, "Hey there, just wondering if we can come and eat, or I'd like to come and eat." And most of the time, I've been accommodated. Like, and I'm talking some pretty difficult restaurants to get into. I don't know what it is, but maybe I just called at the right time or whatever. Like I remember the one time we went to WD-50. We were driving up to New York City we were taking a class, and Rusty might know these guys. You know Alex Talbot and Aki Kamozawa. We were taking a class with Alex and Aki, and uh, and we were driving up there, and I was like, "What are we gonna eat today?" I said, "I don't know." I was like, "What about let's go to WD-50." I told my friend was like, "Oh, you think what they'll take us?" I said, "I don't know. Let's call them." So I called them up, and the receptionist answered the phone. I was like, "Hi there. We'd like to come and eat tonight. Do you?" I forgot exactly. I said something like that, and she was like, "What?" I said, "About 5:30. We're almost in the city." And she's okay. Oh, all right, excellent. And then another time when I was up for the Star Chefs conference, everybody was like, "You need to go eat at Le Coucou over in the Bowery." And I was like, "Le Coucou," and evidently Le Coucou is also another place that's really difficult, or at least at the time was really difficult to get a reservation. So I went with my friend and Rusty was with my friend Tony. We just rolled up at like at 10:30. I was like, "Let's roll up there at 10:30." So I rolled at 10:30, walked up to the captain or to the maitre d', and I was just like, she was like, I was like, "Hi, we'd like to eat." And she was like, "Do you have a reservation?" I said, "Oh, no, I'm sorry, we don't." And she's like, "Oh, well, let me see what we can do." A few moments later, they were able to see us. I was like, "Well, all right." I think that if you're solo or two people, it's a little bit easier to get into those kind of things. So George says that Wiley had a sixth sense for industry folk. That could be. That could be. I mean, that could be. That could be. I don't know. I don't know how they would have known us. But I do think though that when I went to per se, well, not per se, when I went to oh, well, this is finished now. Well, I'm gonna put this down here. Right, put this down here. When I went to what's it called? Not per se, New York's version of. Oh yeah, per se. When I went to per se, which is New York's French Laundry, when I went to per se, like I really think that they had. I'm positive they had researched us when we went because the dessert they gave me was not on the menu, and it was totally like the dessert that I had wanted to try. I think I might have written about it in my blog at one point, which I would not be surprised if they had read it. All right, so here's our coffee. It's all ready to go. Rusty says there's a rumor that if you ate at the French Laundry as a solo diner, you autumn. I think that's pretty well known from what they said. And my one rather large regret with dining is I was at the French Laundry. This must have been 2005, 2006. I'm at the French Laundry. I'm in Yountville. I drove up to Yountville. I wanted to go check it out. So I'm standing in the garden, looking through the windows of the kitchen, like a stalker, like a freaky psycho. I'm standing in there, and I'm looking, and this one guy sees me, and he's like, "Hey!" He comes out of the kitchen door. He's like, "Hey, would you like a tour?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, that'd be awesome." So he takes me on this grand tour of the entire facility, all the kitchen. There's Thomas Keller in his little cubby working on stuff, wondering who's this chubby fat guy that's in my kitchen interrupting my preparation. And then he takes me through all the dining rooms, shows me all the dining rooms, and then he's like, at the very end, he's like, "Hey, would you like to eat here tonight?" And I was like, "Shit, it's 4 o'clock. They got a seating at 5:30. The problem is I got a flight out of SFO at 9:30 that night to fly home." And I was like, "How long does it take?" He's like, "About 3 hours." And I was like, "Son of a gun, I could barely make it back." Or maybe it was 10:30. And I told them, but I regret this still today. I was like, I said, "Well, I really have to catch this flight home." I forgot why I had to be back. Like it was actually pressing that I came back on time. I should have just blown it off and like gone for it and just stayed. It would have been. I would have been able to tell you what it's like as a solo diner, but they were totally going to give me a space to sit that night. So gosh, so Tony's here with Tony. Tony has a Fuente Añejo F60 with the dietary Pepsi. Excellent. And George is like, Tony's killing it. Tony and I went with Brian, went up, and Dave, we went up to a place called Aroma, which is a cigar lounge, a new cigar lounge that just opened in September in Lidditz, Pennsylvania, this little tiny town just north, about an hour and a half north of here, just slightly north of Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And evidently, we didn't realize this, but Lidditz evidently has this huge rock festival. And there's a bunch of like companies that do like rock concerts. They're like some of the best in the country. So they do a lot of staging of people's tours in Lidditz. Like they have a whole like stage where they can, set everything up for the tour, and then they rehearse for the tour. And so there's all kinds of rocks, rock and rollers that come through town, and like they're hanging out and they come to the cigar shop, and it's like, oh. And they built this beautiful place. It's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful like cigar lounge. So if you ever want to go for a cigar lounge and you're in Lidditz or Lancaster, PA, Lidditz is only like 10, 15 minutes from Lancaster. So it's well worth the drive. Nice interior, different seating areas, a decent selection of cigars. I mean, they just started, so their selection isn't as deep as maybe you're used to in some shops, but still a really, really nice time we had there. Complimentary beverages, so just soft drinks and coffee and things like that, not hards. You can bring hards, you can bring food. There's a brewing company that serves food downstairs, so there's quite a lot of synergy happening in this place. So the coffee, a little bit too much liquid, but good, 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 good. All right, let's move on. Let's move on to our cigar of the day. So our cigar of the day is an interesting one that I was going to say I got, but I didn't get it. It's actually was gifted to me by Mom, by Brian. Thank you, Brian. I appreciate that. And this is called the Montenegro Batista by Privada Cigar. And this evidently has tobaccos that have been aged for 10 plus years. It says on their website, Montenegro Batista, aged 10 plus years. MSRP is $8.50. So a nice price point. And what do they say here? They say that tasting notes, notes of sliced cedar and funky cheese like gorgonzola. Rich tobacco on the foot. Gorgonzola, that's crazy. Rich tobacco on the foot, aged cedar, and faint dried apricot on the draw. The first third is creamy and rich, elegant, very Cuban, oak, creamy salt, dried apricot, white pepper, and faint dried herbs. Now moving on to notes of dried fruit with slightly sweet white pepper, cedar, minerals, and salt. Faint herbs dried, creamy with aged cedar on the retrohale. The cedar becomes charred near the second third. The second third carries through with the florals, buttered popcorn, charred cheddar, salt, white pepper, buttered toasted white bread, and florals. Then a charred cedar and lingering florals, toast and white pepper, sliced cinnamon, smooth and glossy, faint dried fruit. This guy, whoever wrote this, must have just been doing like stream of consciousness tasting here, just like nonstop of like blah, 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 blah. And then final third is more intense and creamy with a fruity zing and toastier whipped vanilla cream, dark toast, cedar, and salt finish. Cedar salt, cinnamon, dried apricot, brown toast, whipped cream, smoke, and white pepper. Wow. Wow. Now it says pairing notes, buttered popcorn, scotch from the lowlands, anything with cinnamon, but prior to, not during Belgian beers. Low proof Jack Daniels, cream soda, light roast coffee. Light roast coffee, this is not so light roast, but it works. Vanilla ice cream and white chocolate. Interesting. George says that Batista was the former dictator of Cuba. Well, Batista, yeah, but this is America, right? And Batista was America's man. That's why we hate Cuba, because the people of Cuba overthrew this guy, and then Castro took over, and Castro wasn't our guy, right? Isn't that how it goes? Isn't that how it goes? That's why we hate those guys. I mean, it's interesting. Like, as I was thinking about it over many, many years, like Castro came to power, and we like to cast Castro as this evil dude. But I haven't really read the history of Cuba, but I can only imagine that Batista, being America's boy, probably made the life of his people pretty bad. which is why they rose in revolution against him. I think people don't normally fight to the death and put their lives on the lines unless like it's really bad, right? Like I think that's typically how it works in revolution. Something has become untenable, and this does not slide out, so I've got to like tear it open a little bit. Very nice, very nice. Ooh. So we had a foot band that says Montenegro. I'm not sure why it's called Montenegro. The Black Mountain, Montenegro, right? I don't know. Oh, that smells kind of nice. So here it is, Batista. I wonder why they would have. I wonder why they would honor Batista. I presume it's because he's an he's America's boy, right? George says Batista fled. He was a gangster, up jumped sergeant, ruthless and cruel, but stupid and a willing puppet of the U.S. government. Well, see, that's why they overthrew him. So he's willing to play ball with the U.S. Castro's not. Castro takes off. And since we're against Castro, Castro accepts support from Russia because, they don't like us either. So nice aromatics. Cold, the dry fragrance, a little bit of spicy, very interesting and alluring. Light, like barnyard, not very heavy, just light barnyard, but sweet kind of barnyard that's like if you imagine like if you're in a horse stall that's been freshly cleaned, that's kind of the aromatic happening. But the wrapper looks pretty good. I don't know who makes this. It doesn't really say much about. Oh, yeah, here we go. Here's a description. On the 26th of July, 1953, Fidel Castro invaded Cuba. On December 31st, 1958, at a New Year's Eve party, the president of Cuba, Fulgencio Batista, told his cabinet top officials that he was leaving the country. Here he is. He's about to abscond after 7 years. So he's been fighting for 5 years now, over 5 years. After 7 years, Batista knew his presidency was over, and he fled the island in the early morning. Under Batista, Havana, Cuba was the original Las Vegas casino town. It was run by the mob and fueled by gambling and all the things that come with that. There were millions upon millions of dollars coming in and out of Cuba, along with tourists from all over the world. This cigar ban is in no way trying to disrespect any of the people who shaped the history of Cuba. This cigar ban is simply a what if. What if Batista had remained in power? This has got to piss off a lot of these Cuban cigar makers, right? The ban was created under my art direction along with Sedated Hype, this at Sedated Hype. Our concept was Cuba remaining a Las Vegas style resort, money, power, gambling chips. We wanted to take a traditional style Cuban cigar band like Bolivar and rework it in the vintage neon casino style. Casino style. We are in no way saying Cuba should have or shouldn't have remained under Batista's rule. We are simply asking, what if? Like, yeah, what if the Nazis had won World War II? Would this be what traditional cigar bands look like? We wanted to put this band on the Montenegro cigar for a few reasons. The first being how classic the blend, style, and flavors of the cigar are. In my opinion, for a traditionalist out of Cuba working with otherworldly tobaccos with Cuban classics in mind, you will not find a much better blend. The other reason is because of how decadent Montenegro is as a brand. The cigars are expensive, pure traditional. He says the cigars are expensive, but this is $8.50. Maybe I'm missing something here. George, am I missing something here? The cigars are expensive, pure, traditional, and no expense is spared. I hope you enjoy this experience and maybe it will provoke some thought into the what if. This is an 8-year age Nicaraguan puro that was given to us way less than it typically costs because of the support you offer Montenegro. Please shout them out on this one at MSP Cigars. George says you were describing a very Cuban style aromas. I'm only using the aromatic descriptions that they're providing from their website. And George says typically disrespectful. I mean, I don't know much about that, but I can't imagine that these diehard Cuban cigar people who I'm presuming, it seems to me, okay, and maybe I'm wrong, but it seems to me that these people that are upset the most about their families' companies being nationalized by Castro and then them eventually fleeing the country to establish new companies in other parts of the world. My understanding, these are people that were part of the upper class. They probably were families that flourished under Batista's rule. And maybe I'm wrong, but and so when Castro came, nationalized everything, and was like, okay, we're nationalized. They were like, we're out of here, and they went to start their own thing. So I never understand whether I'm never sure whether the people that are here that are mad about Castro are mad because they were being like, you know, inhumanely treated, or they were part of the Batista regime and just lost power, right? I don't know. I don't know. But anyway, we're gonna try it anyway. We're gonna try it anyway because Batista. Although I do think that considering the politics of cigar makers, like this seems to be an odd choice to go with. All right, we're gonna cut this off here and see what the cold draw is like. Oh, we have to do a little bit of wrapper evaluation. Okay, good. Does smell nice. Kind of a big, not Toro, maybe like a huge Robusto, but good feeling. Nice and like it feels good. More bready on the cold draw. Pretty good, pretty good so far. All right, let's light it up. Oh, let's give it a score. We're gonna look at that. And the fragrance was nice. I want to say good fragrance. Cold draw a little bit more than medium. I'm gonna say 825. Now I'm gonna light up. I'm running out of fuel. It's coming off with a bit of medium character for the initial lighting. Sometimes we have a lot of fanfare. Sometimes we have a lot of strength or a lot of spice or something like that. This one, I'm not getting that. I'm getting more of a, what am I getting here? How will I describe this? It's starting off with a little bit of spiciness, but nothing like, maybe a bit of cinnamon, but I'm not terribly excited about the light. So thick ring gauge, a little bit, a little bit tighter on the draw. George says if it genuinely is an 8-year age tobacco, then it shouldn't be aggressive at first. Yeah, it's definitely not aggressive. Definitely not aggressive. A little bit tight on the draw. My friend was telling me we're supposed to get snow all next week and Saturday. I was like, what? More snow again? Good thing I haven't put away the snowblower. But I was hoping we were past the snow. I was like, oh, don't more snow. George is asking, is there 58 or 60 ring gauge? I think it's probably. Oh, you know what? Let's find out. I don't have to go anywhere. I've got my ruler right here. Hmm. 60. Look, it's more than half an inch. So I'm going to say 60, even though both 58 and 60, but I think it's probably close to this. It's probably 60. George says that I think we'll get snow in March. Yeah, we might, good Lord. George says, Shem says that when next Tuesday looks horrible, I'll be in school till nearly July. Oh, God, yeah, it's terrible. And then Rusty says, Standard Forecast is calling for snow next Saturday already. Oh, man, really? Gosh, I hope not. That's terrible. We have our event next Sunday. Of course, you guys know that. We're trying to find a. I'm supposed to go to Virginia for a meeting on Saturday, too. So it's like. But actually, I'm secretly hoping that it will snow on Saturday. So I don't have to go down there. I can postpone that. I'll postpone that. But if it doesn't snow, then I really should go. Yeah, we didn't get, we got one snowfall last year in Baltimore. Now we're having, multiple snowfalls. At least it's not like 2010 when we had back to back like 2 foot blizzards. That was pretty crazy. So like I said, I found this guy online and he's doing his own log milling. And I was like, whoa, what's this guy doing? And so let's go check it out. So we drove over there. He's actually just a mile or two away from me. And I was like, whoa, this guy's local. So we go there. He's got a little like mill. He's got a kiln dryer. He's like all like set up. And I was like, it's got some nice looking logs. And I was like, oh, this is some nice stuff. So if you buy wood from a lot of the mills in this area, you can buy walnut. Let's say walnut. Walnut's really popular. Walnut, for example, is at a normal mill is about, if you buy what they call common walnut, it goes for $6 a board foot. And then clean walnut goes for $8 or $10 a board foot. And a board foot can be calculated. It's not just like the length, it's also like the thickness and all that. So you calculate the thickness times the length times the width, and then you divide that times the width. So thickness times width times length. So thickness and width in inches, length in feet, and then you divide that by 12. Or you could do it all in inches and divide by 144. Either way you want to do it, whatever's more simple. So it works. So you could calculate almost any board feet right that way. But this guy, $6 is his clear walnut. Like the best quality walnut is $6 a board foot. I said, what? And then his common with the knots is $3.50. I was like, what? $3.50? We have to go back there next week and get ready. So pretty good, pretty good. Rusty says, George, how many snow days do you get per year? And have you used any yet? We get 5, and today was our first one used. And George says to George, if you end up stuck in the classroom until late June, we will come over to your house to give you moral support. Excellent, excellent. We will do that. George says that we got 3, then we have to add on to the end of the year. We've already, wow, really? You've already used 4? I guess, yeah, that makes sense. I thought they would give you more days than 3. I thought it'd be like a week. I'm surprised. And he'll be needing the support and the oh, okay. You have the food. We'll bring everything else. Excellent, excellent. So it's nice. It's nice. It's not taking me on a ride. It's just it does have a Cuban-esque style to it, so it's fairly pleasant. It's got a nice rounded flavor. So no complaints. It's pretty good. George is asking, does the coffee change your perception of the flavor? I don't think it changes the perception. I think it can enhance the perception or complement it. This coffee is the Perla Negra, which is a anaerobic processed coffee. That's really more the forte for this coffee really is when it's cold. Not it's fine hot, but it's really beautiful when it's cold. Like that's really the forte for this coffee, and that's really how it's designed. We designed this coffee to be fantastic as a cold iced coffee. I just brewed it hot because I was like, oh, let's try something different. George says, my question was, is it helping your enjoyment of the cigar? Yeah, it's not. I'm not being swept away by the cigar, even with the coffee. It's fine. It's fine. It's right now. I'm at a point of the coffee and the cigar is fine. It's delivering nice flavor, not terribly exciting, just good. Maybe what do we have here? They said aged cedar. Yeah, I can see the aged cedar. Maybe a little bit of this apricot, a little bit of that creaminess. Sure, it is a rich cigar. It does have that Cuban-esque flavor. Like last week's cigar was what was it? Was the Catch a Fire, right? Kind of like the Catch a Fire. That had some Cuban-esque kind of characters to it, I think. Or was that the Roma Craft before that? But either way, this is like those in that it's Cuban-esque. Like there's Cuban-esque cigars that are like, well, there's Cuban cigars you have and they have this, you're just like, oh yeah, I'm really grooving with it. This one is fine. It's fine. Which I know is not really, doesn't really sound like a great endorsement, but it's fine. There's nothing bad about it. There's nothing unenjoyable about it. It's maybe just not terribly exciting to my palate. Oh, George Brightman, I have a question for you. I saw someone posting online today about a Meerfell cigar, a darker, like in a dark ashtray with, darker like brown, like not brown, but more like darker blue, darker black tone to it. Is this a new release? George says, fine as a cigar descriptor generally means innocuous. It is relatively innocuous. It's got the light breadiness and a little bit of that cedar, but it's not really like, I'm not being taken away. I'm not being like, it's good. It's fine. It's fine. But I don't think it's just good. Like it's it's pretty high up on the good, maybe to very good. It's just that it's just not. I'm just not wow. It's not like a wow cigar. It's like Devin says, "Can you retrohale?" I'm not very good at retrohaling. We can try. a little bit there. George says, "Do you mean the picture that Michael Correa posted along with his RCE mug, coffee mug? Oh, am I missing something here?" I'm not sure, George, what you refer to. The mean the picture that Michael Correa posted. Oh, with the RC. No, it was just some guy just posted it. Basically, like it was a photo of the ashtray with the cigars lined up in it. And I was like, oh, I don't think I've seen that. It looked pretty dark in tone, the color of like it was dark blue or something. It was on one of the Facebook like cigar lovers groups. Yeah, no, it was on the cigar lovers on Facebook. It was posted like today, I think, this morning. And I was like, oh. The guy was like, oh, are these good? And I was like, well, I've never had that one, but the the mayor is like, I will totally worth the money. And whatever, and then you could kind of see in the picture there was a little tag on one of the cigars. It looked like it was $99 for the cigar, and I was like, oh, $99. Evidently, Harbor Freight is having 30% off everything under $20 tomorrow. Which is probably bad news. Yeah, not bad, not bad. What is the RCE coffee? I'm not familiar with that. Yeah, it's fine. So what else been happening? So we went to, like I said, we went to Roma. We also went to check out some. There's a place there called Julius Sturgis up in Lidditz, PA. I was looking up when we're talking about going. I was like, what else is in Lidditz? And I found this Julius Sturgis. Evidently, it's the very first pretzel bakery in the United States. Opened in 1861, predating everybody else, evidently. And nice pretzels. One of our friends, Dave, was like, they sell these cheese pretzels that are really good. We have to get some. And I was like, all right, cheese pretzels are good. And so cheese pretzels are, I guess if you buy cheese pretzels from other places, they do cheese powder, right? And coat the baked pretzels. These guys incorporate the cheese into the dough and then bake it, which I bought a bag. The bag is gone. The bag is long gone, long gone. Regency Cigar Emporium. Okay. And what time does the event begin? At Sunday, officially at 2 p.m. But Rusty and Mom plan to be in town overnight, or no, I guess they're kind of come down that night and stay overnight, so we can go at any time. Anytime. George says Michael posted an outdoor shot with a Mirfel and a cup of coffee. Pretty sure his showed off with a Mare double robusto. Okay. Well, no, there's another one that let's see if I can find it. I wonder if there's a way to comment or to see where I commented. I've been a little bit busy on the interwebs today, so. Other cigar lovers, maybe? Let's see here. And can we get a rough head count? Yes. So if you're going to come down, let us know. Let us know so we can be prepared. And George can make space for everyone. There must be a way for me to see what I have posted. I have no idea. Sadly, nothing. Rusty wants to know when you're going down Saturday. Are you going down Saturday? Driving down Sunday morning? Saturday till Tuesday. Oh, nice, nice. And you're going with you're bringing your wife. Is that correct? George, I have not seen anything on the phone. Or do you mean like message wise or something else? And George Shem is in. Excellent, excellent. I'm sure Tony's in. Yeah, it must be cigar lovers because I think that's the only group that I subscribe to. Let me see if there's anything here. George, you're gonna have to tell me what that link is because I can't see it on my laptop here because you have Android, right? So I can only look at it on the phone. If I look at it on the phone, it will shut off. It might shut off the live stream. So you have to let me know what it is. What it is. Rusty's in, and he's also bringing his Naval Academy friend Jim and his. Oh, excellent! I'm glad they're coming. That should be great. Kids and the grandkids. Oh no! Excellent, excellent. So I guess you're gonna make a whole weekend out of it. Awesome. Tony and Dave are in. Excellent, excellent. Devin says, unfortunately, can't make it. That's all right, man. Green coffee buy, push the budget. I understand. And so we'll miss you, but we'll think about you. We're thinking about you. Then mom says, I'm leaving there, going to Virginia until Sunday. So you're going to be there till Tuesday and then go on the rest of the week. Wow. That's awesome. Where are you going to go in Virginia? Okay, so I feel like it's opening up now a little bit more, right? I feel like it's opening more and getting a little bit, it's opening in that, what am I think? It's getting easier to draw. The draw is a little bit easier. Going to Lynchburg, excellent, excellent. I don't I've been there once, Lynchburg. There's a couple guys I know that roast coffee down there. I haven't seen them though in like 15 years, so I don't know if they're still in the business or not. So getting easier. The puffing the puffing is opening up more now. So it might be it's changing. It's starting to get that last puff was starting to change a little bit more brightness coming through. Rusty said I drove through Lynchburg, Tennessee. Actually, speaking of Lynchburg, Tennessee, and you driving, Rusty, I was thinking about that today because I was I found this event March 7th and 8th in just outside of Cincinnati in Kentucky. They're having this like woodworking event, and I was like, that would be interesting to check out. But it's like an 8-hour drive. I was thinking about going to check it out, and I was thinking, ooh, I could do like Rusty and go to Bucky's. I don't know where Bucky's is. I didn't look it up yet, but I was like, oh. Get some Skyline chili while I'm there. Got some friends in Cincinnati haven't seen in many, many years. So I thought maybe give them a call, be like, hey man, we'll be in town. But I don't know. I've been really kind of like lazy to go anywhere. Like I'll get in the car. I'll like think about going somewhere, and then after I may even have it planned, and at the last minute I'm gonna be like, I'm not going anywhere. I don't feel like going anywhere. Like the weekend that we're actually doing the event next weekend, I was supposed to go on a trip to Deep Creek with some friends. Used to do it like that one time when I was in the hot tub. Those group supposed to go back again, and they started putting this together back in like October, and they're like, "Are you gonna come?" And I was like, "Oh, no, I can't go. Just too far away. It's just too far away to plan." And I was like, "No, I can't go. I can't go. I don't feel like going anywhere." A good thing too, because now we have our events. I was like, I can't go because I have an event. The Bucky's in Kentucky is in Richmond. There's another one, but Southern Kentucky. Okay, I will look that up. Richmond, Kentucky. Let's see what they got. Maps. Oh man, maybe I will not be getting there. So that Bucky's is, yeah, Lexington, south of Lexington, which is pretty far from Cincinnati. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. That's a long. George says, "Damn it, you cheat us out of hot tub party." God, that was so crazy. 15 degrees was terrible. George says, or you could fly. Greater Cincinnati Airport is actually in Covington, Kentucky. No doubt. I mean, I could fly, but you know what? I don't know. There's kind of I kind of like the idea. Oh, well, I kind of like this idea of driving sometimes because then you can stop at places. Like really, the only reason I'm hesitant to go to Bucky's, like head another hour or whatever south of Cincinnati, is because when I come back, I was thinking I want to go by Akron and visit this place called Hartville Hardware, supposedly like some crazy hardware store. So I was like, I should go check that out. Well, who knows? Who knows? There's no rhyme or reason yet, and I haven't decided if that's going to happen. Plus, the nice thing about when you're driving, like a long drive, if you bust, if especially the weather's a little bit milder, you can bust out the cigar. Like when I went to Front Royal this past weekend, went to Front Royal because I've been talking to this dude, and he was selling this tool, and I was like, man. So we finally struck a deal for the tool. I was like, all right, I'll come get it. All the way down to Front Royal. That's far, far away. But on the way back, I was like, I'm gonna get a cigar. So I was like, I was actually in Winchester, Virginia. So I'm in Winchester visiting with hanging out with a friend of mine who lives there. And I said, all right, I'm gonna go home. I'm gonna go home now. And I noticed there's a Bojangles. I was like, ooh, Bojangles. So I got something to eat at Bojangles. Bojangles is good. Bojangles, kudos to Bojangles. They still have dirty rice. Popeyes got rid of the dirty rice years ago. I'm very, very upset about that. But the Bojangles is a little bit more peppery, black peppery than the Popeyes. And I'm a Popeyes guy, so I still like Popeyes over Bojangles. Bojangles is good, and they have the dirty rice, but I like Popeyes better. I'm glad I have Popeyes. So in the same shopping center, I find this cigar shop. So I'm like, okay, let me go check it out. It's one of those hookah cigar shops, right? So they have a bunch of stuff: Padron, Perdomo, Drew Estate, but all at that like hookah lounge markup rate, or hookah, not on the lounge, but just a hookah shop. So it's expensive. I'm like, and I realize that something's different in the world, because you know what? I'm not willing to spend that much money on any cigars that are over. I'm not willing to pay over that kind of price, right? Just for a cigar. It's like I can just drive home without it. So I left. And I thought, let me look one more time. So I looked it up online. There's a proper cigar shop in Winchester proper, like in downtown Winchester. So it's only like 9 minutes away. So I drove over there. Proper cigar shop, really kind of nice owner. So I picked up what did I get? I got the AJ, not the New World, but the AJ something, the New Hope or whatever. But a nice cigar. And then I drove back. I drove back, had the cigar while I was driving. It's cold. And my truck is not, I got this in that 2014 Toyota Tacoma, which I'm still a little bit, it's a fantastic vehicle. Like, it's been awesome. Like, it's a great vehicle. There's only one aspect of it that I find a little bit disappointing. And this is what it is. It's what cigars. I used to have a 2004 GMC, um, basically the S10 pickup, right? 4 doors, crew cab. And that was a great piece of American engineering. Just a rickety old boat that eventually, like, the transmission was all like busted. Like, it's American cars. It was all busted at some point. But I was able to figure out during those years, I had it for 10 years. I figured out that during the winter time, I could turn on the heater, full blast, adjust the heating vents, keep the driver's window fully closed, crack the passenger window, the driver's side back window, crack that open too, or like, maybe halfway on both of those. And by full blast on the foot and the upper vents, the way that the airflow swirled in the vehicle would create a vortex that surrounded me in heat. So as I'm puffing, the smoke would just basically go out and blow this way and out the window. Man, most brilliant vehicle I've ever had for smoking cigars. The Tacoma doesn't do that. Like, the way they place the vents, they're not conducive. It's terrible. It's terrible. It's terrible. Like, I'm trying to smoke and all it does is blow it this way and goes in my face, and I'm like sucking in the smoke in. I'm like, soon I'll be ill and I'm gonna run off the road and crash. It's gonna be bad. Rusty says I drive out of the way just so I know you did. I remember you told me that, but only because I want to go to this other place that will take me like further north towards Cleveland and Akron on the way back. So it'd be like I'd have to go south for an hour or two and then come back another 4 hours. I was like, oh, that may be too much. George says Cincy to Lexington is only about an hour. But that's like a 2.5 hour, nearly 3 hour round trip, right? But we'll see. We'll see. Mom says, so I'm guessing you don't always have cigars on you. Not always. Like, sometimes I just don't. I mean, really, Front Royal is only maybe 2 hours from where I live. It's not that far. Like, I don't normally smoke on 2 hour drives. Like, usually for me, it's a 3 hour plus drive. I'm going to have a cigar, and I'm going to have, a bunch of them, and it's going to be my companion for the trip. But then again, my enjoyment of the smoking in the vehicle is diminished because I have this Tacoma where I had the GMC. Man, it was like I said, it was amazing. It was fantastic. George says, was the shop you visited Long Ridge Cigars? Let me double check. Yes, Long, is that right? No, no, not Long Ridge. A place called John B. Hayes Tobacconist on Piccadilly Street, right in downtown. Where is yeah, it's right down there. Like I was just on the other side of I was just on the other side of the city, the downtown area. And where is that place you're talking about? Long Ridge. Oh yeah, Long Ridge is I didn't see that before. Long Ridge is a little bit more south than where I was. Is that a good place, Long Ridge? I'm looking it up now. Friendly staff. Oh yeah, looks nice. I'm an airspace engineer. Yeah, I'm always I obsess too much about the smoke thing, right? Like when I was talking to the one guy that was at Aroma, I'm like, so how do you guys handle your smoke abatement there? And they do a mixture of filtration and extraction because it's 3,400 square feet with like I don't know 12-foot ceilings, 10 foot. I say 10-foot ceilings, so what 340,000 cubic feet of space. So it would be incredibly expensive to totally extract and recondition all the time. Rusty says, plus if you did go to Bucky's, you give yourself at least 90 minutes there. Yeah, see, that's the thing. It's like I got the for our Chris Criminal gift exchange. I got a Bucky's t-shirt, one of those tie-dye t-shirts. I don't know if I'll ever wear that. And some Bucky's beef jerky, which I ate in one sitting. So I was like, man, I don't know how much the shirts cost or how much that is, but I thought our buy-in was like $70. I was like, I got the short end of the stick on this Christmas gift exchange. George says, no doubt run by his kids. Oh yes, John B. Heath. Yeah, yeah. The guy that I spoke to was the descendant of the guy that built the store. So it was his father that built it. You do know that JB Hayes, the guy that actually hired me into the. Oh no, I didn't realize that. Oh, I should have said something to his son about you. Should have dropped some names and be like, get like maybe free cigars. Be like George Brentman said to give me free cigars. But really nice guy, really nice guy. We chatted for a few minutes because I was like, I'm glad you're here because I went to that other place and I was like, man, I'm out of here. And I looked you up in like a proper cigar shop. I'm like, please. And everyone's very friendly. His like regulars are sitting there. They're all like, hey, how's it going? I was like, because sometimes you go to cigar shops and the regulars there are just kind of like, who's this dude? And I'm in like rural Virginia, so I'm expecting like, oh, you're not one of us. Let us get some rope. Like, oh, let me just grab a cigar. I'll be out of your way in just a few moments. Rusty says, I got a hoodie for $24, but get the beaver nuggets, pretty much corn pops on steroids. Oh, all right. I will have to do that. Ben Hayes, oh, nice. Oh, I should have totally dropped your name. Okay, so I'm going to say we're past the first third. So let's say the first third, I'm going to say just good, very good, very good. So just kind of eight. Body's kind of like 8.25. Pretty much corn pops on steroids. Okay, okay. I remember that. I'll if I go, I'm going to plan on going buck wild at Bucky's. Brisket. Like my cousin, he was like, dude, I walked in, I tried the brisket, and I had to get a second sandwich. It's like, good Lord, dude, that's crazy. So, yeah, because they were down, they stopped at the Bucky's because his son graduated from Mississippi State. Is that right, Mississippi State? And so they drove down there. On the way back, they went to the Bucky's. George says, I think I would actually have a bag of Bucky's coffee somewhere around here, but it's ground and likely say, it's probably fine. It's probably fine. So I think definitely now that we're moving to the second, third, it has opened up. It has become easier to draw. It has become more expressive. Maybe some more of that apricot is starting to come through. It's definitely more interesting, more enjoyable. Like really, I've been kind of like, kind of maybe struggling along with like trying to enjoy it. Maybe a little bit of white pepper. Yeah, definitely. Look at that. Look at the smoke production now. Very, very nice. And here's the thing. Like we're pretty well into it, and the garage is getting has a little bit of haze. Right? It has a little bit of haze over there, but it's not too heavy. And I don't feel like it's too heavy yet. Like I don't feel that I need to open the glass doors and vent into space just yet. So, relatively a nice smoke. That's not too heavy, not too heavy, not too harsh. George says truck stop safari. What's best? Royal Farms, Wawa, Sheets, or Bucky's? Ooh, that could be an interesting video. Let's go to all of these places that we see and try their coffees. Huh, good idea. Coffees on the road of America. Is America great again through coffee? I had an interesting conversation with a friend of mine that I grew up with the other day. Just yesterday. Maybe yesterday. It was yesterday. On my Facebook, I post something about eggs. It was eggs. I think it was about eggs, right? Like how the price of eggs has gone up. And the price of eggs is pretty expensive, right? Like I happened to go in the Amish market today, and this one walked up to the lady and was like, how much are the eggs? 12.50. 12. And I was like, 12.50, son of a gun, 12.50 for eggs? That's craziness. And I was like, it's kind of I said, eggs are kind of expensive. I thought we're gonna have cheaper groceries. So this friend of mine, I don't know the correlation between the price of eggs and his response. His response was like, he said, "Did you read?" He's like, you need to read the book about Fauci. That was like vetted. That was like has hundreds of citations. I'm willing to consider anyone's position, even though what Fauci has to do with eggs, I have no idea. I'm like, well, what is that? I don't even understand the correlation here. But anyway, he's so I'm like, okay, well, I'll look it up. So I look it up. I punch it in. What is it, Fauci, whatever the name is, the secrets of Fauci or something like that. And I look it up, and I see that the author is Robert Kennedy. And I was like, wait a minute. And I'm just thinking to myself, this guy, I don't know what the correlation is between eggs, Fauci, and Kennedy. But I'm thinking, this guy, Kennedy, there is, even if he was hell bent on finding fault with Fauci, there is no way that this dude has sat down and researched all of his citations, whatever citations he may have. There's no way he's done that. Like, there's no way that he's doing any kind of academia. So I wrote back, I said, and I said to him, I said something like, are you really expecting me to believe that Kennedy, to accept Kennedy's work as some kind of scholarly academic work or something like that? I'm really quite snarky with him. I was really like, I was just like, are you kidding me, dude? It's like, are you like, I'll engage if you provide me with some interesting like detail. I'm willing to consider it. But if you're gonna give me schlock, I was like, you're giving me schlock here. This is just total rubbish. Like, give me something researched by some real academic or something, not some hit job by some. I said to him, "Do you expect me? Should I laugh in your face now?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, man, come on now, come on now, give me something to work with here." Like if I tell people, like I tell, like when I get involved with discussions with people, I'm willing to consider their thoughts. But if you're going to give me something that like you heard from Fox News or OAN or Newsmax or one of those, you hear these talking points. What am I going to? I can't take that seriously. I don't take that seriously. I just won't even. I just won't even. I won't even consider. That's not worth considering. Show me some. If you want to like especially back before when we had our last president, right? These guys want to argue about like Joe Biden. I'm like, what the fuck are we arguing about Joe Biden? I don't like Joe Biden anyway. But if you want to like cite an article for me to consider that doesn't that has something negative to say about Joe Biden, find it in CNN. Find it in like NPR. If you find it from OAN and Fox News, I'm going to ridicule you. I'm just going to ridicule you because that's just ridiculous. I don't know. I prefer to have more, you know, except at Costco. Did you see that video from Costco? I saw that video. Those people are like taking the whole stacks and they're putting it on their like trolleys. I was like, good Lord, man. Like, what is with America? Like, are we so worried that we're gonna run out of eggs? Like we're gonna run out of toilet paper? Like, don't you people have eggs at home? Like, don't you people buy? How much eggs does one person need or a family need for like 2 weeks? Like, I don't know. Crazy. And we have a lot of eggs here, but I'm just like, I don't get it. A cigar crawl would have to accompany. Ooh, yeah, cigar crawl. The cigar crawl across America. I do enjoy that. I do enjoy going to places and visiting the cigar shops. Trying out different cigars that they may have that are kind of exclusive or limited to their area. And I remember a friend of mine. She was getting married in out in Boulder, where she's from. So flew out to Denver, staying in Denver. Only there for a couple of days. So in this couple of days, I was going to go. And while I'm hanging out there, I'm going to go to visit some cigar shops. So I go to some cigar shop, but also this is before Maryland had legalized marijuana. There was legalized marijuana in Colorado. So I was like, I'm going to try it. So I went to the dispensary and I bought like 2 joints for $20, $10 a pre-rolled joint, maybe like a gram of pot in each one, 2 different styles. And at night, when I went back at the hotel, maybe before I went to bed, I'd puff it up and try it out and see what if I liked it. So in those 4 days, I went to different cigar shops in the afternoon, morning, afternoon, whatever, had a cigar, enjoyed myself. And I calculated it. In the 4 days that I was there, I spent $60 on cigars and $20 on pot. And I still had plenty of pot left over. I just left it in the hotel room. I was like, I'm not going to bring it with me. So, yeah, man, cigars are more expensive than drugs. Darren says, with the price of eggs, might as well buy that. Yeah, actually, that's difficult. Like my friend raises chickens, right? And he has chickens and he has a rooster and he's got eggs all the time. Sometimes I get extra eggs from him, but like he was telling me, man, he was thinking about getting more chicks, but then like because of the bird flu, the price of chicks has also skyrocketed, and availability of chicks is also very limited because of the bird flu. So it's like, oh, this is not good. So what he's doing now, he's been testing out his eggs, and his eggs are being fertilized because he's got a rooster. So the rooster's like going to town on the hens. And so he's like, oh yeah, these are all fertilized. So he's like, I'm trying to like hatch my own chicks. I was like, oh, good idea. good idea, bro. He's like, for both eggs and for eating. I was like, that's good. But I guess if you have like, we have chicken, right? Like, and if you think about that, like, chicken for us is fairly ubiquitous, right? It's no big deal. We go get chicken. We eat fried chicken every day. We can eat fried chicken every day. We can eat chicken pretty much most days of the week because it's so plentiful. But if this bird flu gets really bad, we won't have much chickens. What are you going to eat otherwise? Go back to all beef? Like I like beef, but I don't know if I can eat beef every day of the week anymore. Like that's pretty heavy. George says definitely we could bring along road stash cigars for use during the actual tests, but I can easily map out the nearby cigar shops worth a drive by. Oh, you mean down for next weekend? Oh, that'd be cool. Rusty says, I saw that Costco video. It was from a Costco business center, and it was a bakery that bought all the eggs because they're U.S. Oh, gotcha. Oh, yeah, food. Cisco would always gouge. I took off the band. Oh, Steven's with us. Oh, there he is. Steven's with us. What's going on, man? Steven's here. Brian says 15. I'm missing things. I'm missing it. The earth is flat. It is. It totally is. As I fly across the world, that's what I see. I see a flat earth. I'm like, okay, the earth is flat. And I have to ask the pilot. I say, especially when I see him come out for like his like piss break, I'm like, because I'm sometimes sitting in the front of the plane. So I'm like, sir, are you ever worried about flying off the edge? And I think that if we were on the ground, he'd probably kick me out if he could. I'm just like, are you sure? Are you sure? I don't know, man. Oh, I missed a whole bunch of stuff here. George says, look out, the tinfoil hat brigade will be after you, especially since he's started. I wasn't discussing, I was just totally dismissing him outright. I was like, we're not discussing. I will not even engage you with that kind of thing. If you want to come at me if you want me to consider something Fauci-esque, critical of Fauci, I'm willing to consider, but give me some real work from some real scholarly kind of person, someone that's actually legitimate with credentials. Like I'm willing to consider, but no. That's just ridiculous. Like if you could show me an article that says that if you could show me an article that Francis, the Pope, right, the Pope, wrote a piece that exhorts or that calls on the people to be friendly to Satan, I'd be interested in that. Like if he wrote that, I'd be like, okay, let's see what this guy has to say. But if he's like, espousing Jesus, of course he's going to espouse Jesus. Of course he's going to espouse love. That's what he's supposed to do. Right to 9/11. All right, nice. Steven's with us. What's going on, Steven? How are you, man? Good to see you. Good to see you. Are you feeling better? Were you feeling bad? We didn't know that. George says, no chicken, I'd starve to eat. That's the problem. We'd be in trouble. Like, what would I do with Popeye without Popeyes? Like, no Popeyes? That's a major, major problem. If Popeyes were to cease, we would have to we might have to actually go for revolution. I'd be like, oh, we need to rise up in arms now because that's just untenable. Cigar Shark says, I can't live without wing shop. See, we can't live without the chicken. That's just not right. Oh, man, the truck's oh, gotcha. Well, So the cigar is getting better. Like I'm enjoying it more now in the second third than I had in the first. Like it's a easier draw, more expressive, a little bit more brightness coming through. Really just kind of enjoyable now. Now, before we're kind of like plodding through it, like trying to figure it out, trying to get its groove. Like it was fine. Remember, I was just kind of it's fine, very innocuous, like George was saying. But now it's like, all right, coming alive. Brian says Chick-fil-A will need to expand the burger menu to franchise owners. They should. They should totally. Like actually, the Chick-fil-A bacon cheeseburger is pretty darn good. So if you go down to the what's it called, the Hobbit House, not Hobbit House, it's called something like that. just outside of Atlanta Airport. You can go to the original Chick-fil-A. It's a kind of a diner setup, so you can sit down in booths or at the counter, and you order the bacon cheeseburger with fries. Pretty darn good. Although I don't know if it was really, really great for bacon cheeseburger. It was good bacon cheeseburger, but was it really great, or was it more just because I got a Chick-fil-A bacon cheeseburger? Steven says, so this bug going around works in the respiratory system and it's hard to shake. Oh gosh. So what is it? Does it make you like harder to breathe? Is that what's happening? I've been having a little bit of that, I think, but I've been attributing it to the woodworking thing, like the dust, the sawdust that's been in the air. Like today, I didn't do any woodworking today, so that I could sit here and not have it. But then I was listening to this this scientist, Dr. Sari Robinson, who's a forestry researcher at the University of Oregon, and she was like, the airborne dust that can kill you can remain airborne for 3 days. I was like, 3 days? Good Lord. I need to like get my filtration system working. Rusty says, if you drive through Kentucky, will the original KFC franchise be within distance? Oh, I don't know. Let's see. Maps. Original. I thought the original KFC was in Salt Lake or Utah. Original KFC. I mean, it doesn't make sense. It would make sense it's in Kentucky, not, I mean, Kentucky Fried Chicken. But let's see. Original KFC. Sanders Cafe Museum. Corbin, Kentucky. The Harlan Sanders Cafe and Museum in Corbin, Kentucky. Okay, that's worth the drive. Oh man. Oh man, that's worse. That is like another like hour south of Lexington. Maybe if I decide to do that, maybe it'll have to be Hartville Hardware on the way out, swing up towards Akron, and then down towards Cincinnati, and then down to to the Bucky's and the Harlan Sanders, and then home. That could be. That could be. It's just outside of Louisville, the original, says George. But the Harlan Sanders Cafe Museum is in Corbin, Kentucky. Basically, it looks like you take the from Cincinnati, you'll take the 75 and just go straight down, almost to the Tennessee, almost to Tennessee. Maybe, I mean, gosh, if I'm already down that south, if I do that and I go that south, I might as well go to Pigeon Forge, check out Dolly, and then head over to where's Lodge from? Wherever Lodge is from, some cast iron stuff. George says very first KFC was actually a gas station. Oh, be nice to. I like KFC. The problem with KFC here in Baltimore is that we don't really have many, or at least there's none convenient. Like Popeyes is very convenient to where I am, but the KFCs are kind of a 20-minute drive, so it's not terribly convenient to get to. And speaking of food, like we have this pizza joint here in Baltimore. We've got, I think Baltimore has a bunch of pizza joints that are pretty darn good. If you're a New York snob, well then that's your deal. I can't help you on that. But there's this place called Tony's Frank's Pizza. And Frank's Pizza has really good pizza. We've been going there for a little while. Great crust. And Dave Portnoy, the Barstool Sports guy, happened to be in town in December and did a bunch of videos here and did a bunch of ratings. And he went to Frank's and he gave it a pretty damn good rating, which is probably not a good thing. It's a good thing for the business, but probably not a good thing for people like myself. But I forgot about it. So it's like 3 weeks ago now, 3 weeks ago now that it came out. So last week, I took my nieces out for her birthday. And We went out and like, let's go to Frank's. So we went to Frank's, got there, and it's a madhouse now. It's always busy. It's always busy because it's always good. But it's a veritable madhouse now. Like it's out of control. Like the lines are crazy. Like I got there and we got there and we just got there at the right time because there was a little bit of a lull. There was a lull in the line. Like it was inside the door, like well inside, like almost to the counter. So I was like, and some tables had opened up. I was like, I'm gonna grab a table because we may not get the chance. So I got a table. We waited in line. They waited in line. They ordered, got the food. Took 45 minutes to get our pizzas, which is a long time. Like usually it's like 10, 15 minutes, right? But man, it's a madhouse in there. Lines were crazy. Like the lines, after we got there, the lines suddenly grew out the door. And you're like, oh my gosh, craziness. They ran out of soda. And like, they're running out of like all kinds of stuff. And I was like, man, this place. But here's the thing. The staff looked like they were getting crushed. Like they're getting crushed by the volume. But these guys, to their credit, man, and I love these people for it because they understand. They were not cutting corners. They were like getting crushed, but they were doing it right. Everything just always deliberate, always slow, always correctly. So when the pizza came out, even though there's a big, huge crush, cooked perfectly, crispy, airy, light, just perfect. Perfect. You would never think that they were being crushed by the way the pizza turned out. So if you ever come to Baltimore, Frank's Pizza, well worth the effort. George says, to be accurate, the first place Harlan served his fried chicken at was a gas station outside Louisville, not strictly as a KFC restaurant. Oh, okay. I like the original recipe. I grew up, though, eating the extra crispy. My dad likes extra crispy, so we had a lot of that growing up. I haven't had extra crispy in many, many, many years. Maybe I should go by there one day and have extra crispy. Hmm. If I end up going to the KFC in Kentucky, I will have both KFC extra crispy and the original recipe. So I do like this cigar now. It's quite nice, but we are getting a little bit of burn issues. I think we're having a little bit of combustion issues, and it seems to be a little bit off. So I'm going to hit it up with a little bit of flaminess. George says, as I recall, he told us the gas station belonged to his wife. Oh, wow. So was it like his wife's family had the money and he was kind of like, he married into it? Is that what it is? Speaking of George's, I recently learned about a woodworker that you, if you know about woodworking, you probably know it. He's fairly well known, but I don't know. I'm new, so I don't know any of this. So I just learned about it recently. A guy by the name of George Nakashima, based outside of Philadelphia, New Hope, Pennsylvania. Evidently, he's like one of the major designers of mid-century modern furniture. And evidently his stuff today goes for like wild amounts of money. Like if you had a piece from his in the 70s that he made for you, like it's wildly expensive. Like it's worth like I know one of my friends, her family has one that's been in their family since that era. And I think they had it appraised for like $700,000. I was like, holy God, like a dining table. And now that I think about it, my uncle, who lived in, where did he live? He lived by the Americana on Long Island in, what's the name of that town? If you take the LIX, it's exit 36 in Manhasset, New York. And he's, my uncles, they're passed away now. They passed away many years ago. He fought in World War II, met my aunt while he was in the Philippines, and married her and brought her to America. And they lived in New York. my entire life. They lived there. And like, I remember going to, when I would ever go to the city when I was young, I would stay at their place. Like my aunt would be like, yeah, there's a key outside. Anytime you want to come, you just get the keys ready for you. And I would just go. I would just go. Like, I'd be like, I'm out of here and just go. And like for me, the mid-century modern thing is not really. I've never really been that excited about it because basically I lived in it. Like my uncle had everything mid-century modern because they were buying furniture in the mid-century modern era. So it was their furniture and it was everything that I grew up with. So I was kind of like, it's just furniture. It ain't no big deal, right? But now that I think about it, as I'm telling you this, I wonder, like, my uncle evidently came from like the M&M Mars family, and I wonder, like, could some of the pieces that were in his house like been from this guy? And I was like, I totally missed out on it. Like, I don't know. Very strange. George says the wife had the station and he wanted to boost the business. So he donned his apron and started frying up chicken. And things took off. That's beautiful. It truly is Americana. Brian says, when the pizza place got great reviews next to my brother's shop, it overwhelmed them and oh wow, they closed. Good Lord. Yeah, I mean, I can see that. Like you just get so slammed that you just can't do it. It's like it could be a blessing, it could be a curse. But it looks to me like Frank's is handling that curse fairly well. Like I know they're probably struggling trying to gauge the amount of product they need to keep in. But man, they were kudos, man. Rusty's got to go, man. All right, have a good night. Good night. See you next time. Steven says, Andiamo's Pizza in Scottsdale closed 3 weeks after their review from, oh, wow. Dave Portnoy put a crush on them. Yeah, like Dave came to Baltimore and he went to some pizza joint that I have not been to in Baltimore, down in the Federal Hill area. So he came like early part of December. And in the video that on YouTube, you can see it. He talks to the owner and he's like, this pizza's really great. And the owner's, yeah, we're about to close. We're going to close right after Christmas because, we're not making any money. And so Dave was like, well, let me help you out. He gave him $60,000 to remain operational for a year, which is great. But I wonder if he could end up like on Diamos because, like, are they ready? Like, if Frank's is getting crushed, this guy's probably getting crushed too. Can they handle that crush? Like it takes a lot of mental fortitude to fall under a crush and like be able to maintain your level of quality. Like it's like it reminds me of like when we're working in coffee or in food production or whatever. Like I try to train our baristas like when it gets really busy and you start falling in the weeds, the natural feeling is that you want to speed up. You got to go faster. But I tell them, when you feel like you need to go faster, you need to stop, take a moment, and then become be slow down and become very deliberate in what you're doing because the faster you try to go beyond what you're used to going, you're going to make more mistakes and then it's going to compound and get worse. Whereas if you slow down, you'll be able to manage through it better. So I wonder now that we're talking about this, will this guy down in Federal Hill, will he be able to manage what must be a lot of business coming his way now? And Rusty wants to collaborate on the bourbon whiskey. Okay, let's collaborate on that for sure, for sure. I'll chat with you early next week. Okay, perfect, perfect. Zen and the art of, yeah, it totally is. It totally is. I mean, you'd understand. You know how it is. You've been in that position. But it does seem counterintuitive when you tell people, that, oh, you need to slow down and consider what you're doing. So, almost finished the second third. Pretty darn good. Pretty darn good now. Maybe we're getting close to having to open the blast doors. George says I have to bail out too shortly too. Final thoughts on Cigar? I mean, very good plus, very good plus so far. I think it's definitely improved through the second third from the first third, and hopefully we'll see at least equivalent performance in the last third. If we see that, that'll be very nice. But at the pace that we've been smoking this, I see that our show timer is running at a 90 minutes, so we're about half an hour to 25 minutes to go. So I don't know if this will finish in time, but we'll see. We'll see. I've been thinking about building. So I've been building this bar, right, for the new shop, and like I've decided on a whole bunch of like major like design changes. So the bar itself currently is like 17 and a half feet. And I'm like, I realize that this is not conducive to what it's no longer conducive to what I want to do. So I'm going to split it at I want to split it like at 8 feet into two separate pieces. One, I'm going to keep it a bar 38 inches high, and the other one, I'm going to make it a lower piece that's like 28 inches, right? So more like table height. And so I need to split it and then build two bases for it. And so I showed you guys that pine that I got from the mill that I had custom milled, and I'm going to use that. But I was going to use that for these type of what they call Krenov type sawhorses. But I think I'm not going to. I decided that I was like, you know what? Before I use that product, let me build the lower bases from regular construction lumber to get to really work on the technique. So I bought a couple. I went to the 84 lumber and bought these two 2 by 8 by 8 boards. Fairly, fairly, fairly nice, fairly decent. I mean, they're not beautiful or anything. It's not terribly, and it's not terribly expensive. It cost me like $20, I think it was total. So I think maybe tomorrow I'm going to start cutting them down, cut them down to the different lengths, and then you have to resurface them because they're kind of twisted. They're slightly twisted. Like the one is slightly twist. So once you cut it down, they can plane it, then resurface it, and it should be good to go. George says, good night to the entire crew. Take care, but don't bet against the Chiefs this weekend. Don't bet against it. Well, I always go for Taylor. I'm always on Taylor's side. Actually, at the moment that I'm thinking about it, I know it's the Chiefs, but I can't think of who is the other team. Who's the other team? But the Buffalo Bills, is that right? I don't even know if I'm going to watch the game. It's like it's not a big deal. No Ravens, no game. Like a friend of mine was so no, not a friend of mine. This guy was I was talking to this guy and he was like, "What are you doing Sunday?" And I was like, "I don't know. I don't even know what's going on Sunday." And it wasn't until the next day I was like, "Oh yeah, it's Super Bowl." And who is the halftime performer? Like I don't even know that. Oh, the Eagles. Oh, the Eagles. Okay, it's Philly. Yeah. Oh gosh, I guess that means Philadelphia's going to burn. That's the thing about Philadelphia people. I don't get it. Like those people, they lose the game, they burn the city, which I guess I understand that. But they win the game, they burn the city. It's like, well, you shouldn't burn your own city when you win. Like that's probably not conducive to your city. I don't know who you guys favor. I don't really necessarily have, you know, I like Taylor Swift, so I can be good for the Chiefs, but I don't really have a position. Like I'm outside of Ravens, Steelers. I don't really have positions on teams. I'm like, okay. So always, just to be clear, Ravens always to win, Steelers always to lose. So how's everyone's cigar coming along? Tony, how's that Fuente? And George, did you say that you were smoking, or did you say what you're smoking? Did you say what you're smoking? Like, are you having more of Nick Manillo cigars tonight? And so, Devin, you mentioned also that you can't come because you bought a lot of green. Like, Devin, that's one thing I don't know. Are you actually in the coffee business as well down there in Florida? Like, do you have a roastery, or are you like buying for yourself? Oh, and also speaking of coffee, a friend of mine called me the other day, yesterday, or 2 days ago, and he's like, "Hey, what do you think about this?" Like, he's a friend of mine that specializes in very, very expensive coffees, like very exquisite level kind of coffees, like very rare, very extremely limited production, extremely high end processing. And he was like, "Do you think there's like, do you have much? Do you think there's much interest for an auction?" And I was like, "I think there should be." And what we're talking about now is not your typical geisha, right? Tony says he's burning his fingers. Oh, that's excellent. Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it that Fuente's doing well. We're talking about, so he's talked to a bunch of farmers that I know, the Mirish family down in Nicaragua, the Eladio Diaz. Uh, those are the two that come off the mind right away. And they're kind of all on board with this project. And the idea is to work with these producers to do special production runs of these coffees under these specialized processing methods. We're talking about coffees that will sell in the $800 plus pound range, green. So not the run of the mill coffees. These are like super high end, limited production. And so I'm curious, like, are you guys anyone? It's like, and we're not talking about selling them in full pound lots. We're talking like 4 ounces for $250, but of some of what should be some of the most exquisite coffees produced in the world today, and maybe for 2026, not for 2025. What do you think about that? Any of you guys, anyone interested in that? Have interest in that level of coffee? I think at least in the morning stream, there's a few people that may be interested in that kind of thing. I mean, we're talking about like because he was, he was one of the guys that bought the number one lot auctions this past year in Panama, paying like thousands and thousands of dollars per pound, mainly because he's got a small set of clientele that are willing to pay pretty much anything for the best quality that is out there. And he was talking to some of the other guys that we know in the business that like, and some of them also have, what could be like, millionaire, billionaire type of clients that are willing to pay for wildly crazy coffees. Cigar Shark says, "I never knew coffee came in limited runs. Must be, I mean, these are coffees that haven't been produced yet, but will be produced for this auction." And yeah, like a lot of times you see like a lot of these really expensive coffees currently come through different auctions like the most famous one is the Best of Panama auction, which happens in Panama. And a lot of these farmers will produce coffees and submit them to the competition where they will be cooked and evaluated, and then people will bid on them. And the number one lots tend to get, $2,500 per pound, things like that. And wildly expensive. Like it's stuff that I don't even touch because I'm like, well, I'm not sure if I have enough clientele that would be interested in that or willing to pay that kind of money. But there are definitely people out there. And so I'm just curious to know, like, if anyone here might be interested in that. And like I said, it'd probably be sold at the end of the day, and it's definitely smaller quantities, like 4 ounces. Like he was telling me 4 ounce, like one of the hypotheticals is 4 ounces is $250. Which if you want to have like this really truly rare one-off kind of coffee, it's probably not too expensive. Devin says, no, I'm just a lonely home roaster, but I'm buying a year out. Oh, nice, nice. What are you buying? I'm curious to know, what are you buying and where do you get it from? And for you, since you're buying, like the idea, so for everyone that may be watching, like the idea of someone that's roasting coffee, buying a year's worth of coffee up front is not, is a very common practice. Like when I work with farmers in other countries that we're buying direct, we're going to buy what we need from them for the year up front. And so that's typical. But I'm curious to know, like, in your case there, Devin, like how much quantity are you buying that well for your year? Like, in my world, it's typically pallets of coffee at a time. But I'm also very small production. So I'm talking pallets versus some of my friends, they're talking containers, which is good because maybe they don't need to buy a full container. So in a container of coffee, you can fit, if you're talking typical 70 kilo export bags of 152.32 pounds, you can fit 275 bags on a 40-foot container. So that's about 40,000 pounds. So my friends may only buy 200 bags, 250 bags. So there's enough for me to have 10 bags float on that pallet with them. So that's how I usually work it. So the cigar, definitely an improvement. I'm getting a little bit of chocolatey notes now. So it has definitely improved throughout our smoke tonight. And while we haven't opened the blast doors, we are reaching a point in here where I'm starting to feel a little bit of a tingly here. So if I was smarter, I would open the blast doors now. But I don't know if I'm that smart yet. Oh, you know what? I haven't scored the second round. I'm going to say we went up in flavor to 8.5. I'm going to say body increased to 8.5. So we're now 17. Okay. Oh, maybe I will open the blast doors. Okay, turn the fan on, get the blast doors open. Devin says, oh, I only do about 60 to 90 pounds a year and store them in Grain Pros. Oh, that's perfect. I mean, 60 to 90 pounds, that's a good commitment for someone, especially for a home roaster. And you're probably only roasting what, maybe like a couple pounds at a time? That's great. That's awesome. What coffee did you get? I'm just curious. Like, what are you buying? Like one coffee in total quantity, or are you buying like multiple coffees to get to that level, to that quantity, because you're doing blending of your coffees, or just a bunch of like coffees so you can have different single origins throughout the year? So something I thought would be kind of interesting, like you guys know that I've been doing this woodworking thing, and I've got this table saw over here, this thing, that. It's what they call a saw stop, and it's their smallest model, what they call the compact table saw, the CTS. And so last weekend when I went down to Virginia, I went to this wood shop called Rockler in Fairfax, and they were having like this Foundation Day event. So I was like, oh, let me go check out what they got going on. They had a bunch of sales, which was really nice, and they were having a bunch of demonstrations. And so one of the demonstrations they were having was the saw stop demonstration. And you may not be familiar with the saw stop, but you may be familiar. Well, the saw stop thing is that they have this technology in the table saw that runs a little bit of current through the blade, so that if your finger touches the blade, it deploys this brake that basically pulls the saw down, the blade down into the housing, and this brake catches it and stops it and prevents you from getting cut. Devin says, oh, I forgot to say, I usually do SM and Gold Mountain, Ethiopian DP, and I just ordered a Kenyan DP, lots of pea berries and Yemens. Oh, wow. Nice. Some centrals. Oh, that's a hell of a nice selection. Is that a Sweet Maria's kind of buy, or is that something else? So I was curious to see this demonstration because you see it on videos online and you never really see it in person. Hopefully you don't. Hopefully you never see it in person. Um, but I'm always curious, and like the question for me is like, when you do, when it does, if should it ever happen to you, you can extract the blade. How do you extract the blade out of the unit, right? And I was kind of curious to see that, and so I was like, the guy was like, "We're going to do a demonstration." I was like, "Oh, let me watch." And so I thought that I would. And I asked the guy, hey, what are you going to do with the blade after? He's like, oh, you want it? I was like, yeah, I'll take it. So I thought that I would show you the blade. If you've been to a wood shop, you've probably seen this in action. But here is the blade that they use. And what they do for this demonstration, they basically put a board that they're cutting, and they have a little hot dog. And the hot dog, once the hot dog touches the blade, it interrupts the electric current, which then fires this brake. So you can see there's this big spring. So it actually sits in the saw like this, right? And so what happens is that once the sensor triggers, it there's whatever restrictors here. It blows the restrictor in here that has this spring that fires this this aluminum brake into the teeth of the blade. So the blade is spinning in this direction, right? So it slams into it and it pivots on here. So by hitting this, it slams the whole thing down and out of the way. And it happens in just a quick moment. Devin says, SM Sweet Maria's Gold Mountain is the same importer you get the anaerobic Pacamara from. Ah, nice. So I thought just kind of interesting. Now, this kind of thing is actually quite violent. And for the longest time, the company SawStop always said that once you have an activation, the blade should be trashed because you don't know if there's any kind of micro fissures or whatever damage may have happened to the structure of the blade. So you put it back in and you're into the machine and you're spinning it at whatever rate that it's going, 10,000 RPM, 7,000 RPMs, whatever. It may cause fracturing and may destruct. But the guy was telling me, the demo guy was like, SawStop over the years has changed their position and says that now they recommend if you want to reuse the blade, you should get it inspected and the carbide teeth that are on here to be replaced. And you can probably operate it. And I was kind of curious about it because I mean, this particular blade's like $50. The brake itself that you replace is $100. So it's $150 every time you have this issue. But I don't know if I would extract this out of it and reuse it. Plus, if you get this, you send it out to a saw place to maybe put some new teeth on it that are embedded in here, inspect it, and then resharpen everything. Probably cost you maybe almost $50. So you're almost at the same price as you would buy a new one. So I don't know if it's necessarily even like cost effective to do that. But I just thought I would show you this because I thought it was kind of curious Most people that have these in their shops actually have them because they had an activation. I just have it because the guy was kind enough to give it to me. There was a part of me that's thinking, what if I extracted this out and get it inspected and fixed, I could reuse it. It's like, God, the ultimate in cheapness, right? Devin says, I do get some stuff from Royal every now and then, but I haven't gotten a crown jewel just because 22 pounds. Yeah, 22 pounds. I mean, if you're only using 60 pounds to 90 pounds a year, 22 is a heavy duty percentage. So I totally understand that. So I'll put this back over here. Now this is he installed this blade just for the demo, so it really hasn't done any cutting. So it's perfectly new and perfectly sharp. So I have to be careful as I handle it because you can just catch on everything. And these blades are pretty sharp. Like if I don't know if I mentioned this last week, but when I bought that pine that I had done at the mill, the guy that cut it all up, he's one of the brothers, and he's got this Carhartt cotton duck jacket, kind of similar to the one that I have, but his is totally shredded. I don't mean shredded. Like the front, all the cotton duck is gone. It's just like the inner lining is shown. Like I don't even know why he's wearing that jacket. I'm like, why do you wear that jacket, dude? It's like it doesn't cover much of anything. And I was kind of wondering, like, oh, like how does he get to that point? Then I realized. Then as I toured the mill, I went to their sawing area where they do all the actual sawing of the logs, and they have blades that are like this. But the difference is with their blades are 4 feet in diameter. They're massive. They're like this tall, and they're on an arbor that spins. And unlike any saw that you've seen, these are like open air. They're just on an arbor and they're just spinning. Like if you fell into it, you would be totally killed. So I was like, whoa, crazy. And I don't know if I mentioned this either, but that guy, it's kind of funny because I was shooting video of them planing the wood, and he kind of looked at me kind of funny, and I wasn't sure why, but he was. I realized later because I bought I don't know if I told you, but I bought some honey from him because he makes honey. He has his own hives. Well, as I was preparing to do this live stream last week featuring the honey that I bought from the mill, I came across his YouTube channel. Evidently, this guy who's a sawyer, his true passion is not wood, it's actually bees. He's got a YouTube channel where he has like videos about beekeeping. I was like, oh, dude, this guy. Next time I go to talk to him, I'll be like, dude, I had no idea that you were a YouTuber. And every Friday night, what's it called? It's called Sawmill Charlie's Bees here on YouTube. You can find it if you want to look at it. Every Friday night, he does a live stream much like this, where he gets beekeepers from around the country to come and live stream with him, and they talk bees for like 2, 3, 4 hours. I just thought it was so funny because if you go to his channel, there's nothing about sawing. If you look up Frank Thomas Sawmill on YouTube, there's nothing. So he's a YouTuber only about bees, while his profession is being a sawyer. I'm like, huh. So yeah, I just thought it was kind of curious, kind of a curious thing. So our cigar is going along well. I am liking it. But I think we're at the point where we can give it a little bit of evaluation. I think it has right on the laptop. Look at this. So I think we can go for our evaluation. I think it has remained, consistent for this last third. So I'm going to say very good plus for the flavor, very good plus for the body. Burn and draw has actually, the burn and draw has been very good. Very good. Let's say 875. Consistency, I wouldn't say that it has been it's been very good consistency. Let's say 825. So 16, 17. And then overall, I'm going to say 825. Which is going to give us a total score of 83.75, which, let's see where that puts us. I will have this updated now on our spreadsheet. 83.75. So let's see where that puts us for the year. So right now that gives us the number, technically the number 5 cigar for the year. So still at number 1 is the Blue Mountain Catch Fire that we had last week at 86.75. Then the Roma Craft Maestranza Castellito Murcia at 86. And then tied at 85 points right now is the Tatuai 20th Anniversary Grand Merveille and the Privado Colada Duarte 6x50, followed by tonight's Privado Montenegro Batisa, and then rounding it up at 80.5 points is the Aganorsa Leaf Arsenio Robusto. So 6 cigars for the year. And really, like when we started out with the cigar earlier tonight, it was rather innocuous. I think that's a good term for it. It was fine. It wasn't really exciting. But after we got through the first third and into the second, that's when it really started to come to life, really started to become more dynamic, more interesting, more expressive. And it remained that way even to this point. Like here now, it's quite enjoyable. So Privada cigar, the Privada Montenegro Batista, $8.50 MSRP. So I think a very nice price point, which unfortunately nowadays, anything under $10 is a nice price point. Used to be to 850 was quite a bit. Now it's like, oh, that's good. That's good. If you get $850 cigar that you enjoy, that's very solid. Like this, it's not like the Roma Craft, let's say like the Intemperance Revenge, that's a lot heavier, a lot more force. This is definitely smoother, less, not aggressive at all. Just a very enjoyable smoke, very similar to the Catch a Fire that we had last week. All right, so I guess that's going to wrap it up for today. Thank you very much for tuning in. Always good to see all of you. Thanks for hanging out, as always, on the Thursday Night Hang. Back again next week with more Cigars and Coffee. Next Thursday night, 8 p.m. So hope you have a wonderful week out there, and catch you next time.